So yeah, we are becoming very dependent on it, and I do think there's that element of human interaction that we've sort of strayed away from in the last sort of decade or so, especially. So
Yeah,
I feel like I've got faith it will come back around. You've probably got generations growing up at the moment going, the hell are all these people doing? Like just constantly on the
for sure,
streets.
right?
So maybe 10 or 15 years there'll be a complete rebellion and Chemical Well will be completely redundant as a theme of a record, which I hope so. But
Right.
that's the way I see things at the moment, right?
All right, guys, this is Ryan with Ethereal Metal, and I'm going to be here today with Carl and Lewis of Obeyer, and we're going to be discussing their full-length debut, Chemical Well, out now via Periphery's 3 Dot Recordings. Carl and Lewis, thank you both so much for taking the time to chat today.
No worries.
Thanks,
good to be here.
So how are you guys doing? Everything going well?
It's been a busy few couple of months, hasn't it? It's, but yeah, we're really enjoying it. It's going really well. We're really happy with how everything's landed so far.
Nice, that's great. And before we start, I always like to ask, what have you guys been listening to lately?
Me, actually, the new Opeth album.
Yeah.
His last Will and Testament. Yeah, that's incredible. So that's
it is. Yeah. It's one of the better albums, I think, honestly.
Probably their best since sort of since they changed.
For sure. Yeah.
What have I been listening to? If you discount all of the kids' music that my children listen to around the house, which is pretty much the only thing that whenever anyone asks this question now, I just think I'm just listening to that. Like pretty much.
Right, of course.
In terms of like heavy music and stuff, I've been really loving. I'm not sure if you heard the new singles from Great American Ghost.
Oh, cool.
Those
Nice.
2 singles are really, really cool. A bunch of stuff really, but that's the thing that I've been especially listening to sort of back to back today.
Cool.
So yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Nice. So the band Obeyer is rooted in a strong brotherhood and a lot of shared history. How has this bond influenced your music and your ability to evolve together over 2 decades?
Don't say it like that.
Yeah, don't say 2 decades. Jesus Christ. It's kind of hard to say. I think we're sort of in hindsight phase of it now. At the time it was happening, we didn't really acknowledge it or know it, because to be honest, we're just, like it says, like we're just 4 friends that get together each week in the practice space and just end up writing some songs. And yeah, I think what it's done for us is just the ability to be honest with each other. We sort of, the egos are left at the door. We sort of, when we're writing music, all we want is what's best for the music. It's not about anyone showing off or anyone having their moment and things like that. Obviously those things do happen throughout the record naturally, but I think just our ability to turn around and say, do you know, that's not very good, or that's not us, and for nobody to take it personally. I think when you spend that amount of time with each other and you're as good as friends of what we are, you just learn to figure things out a lot easier. So I think, just a shared understanding of what we're trying to achieve is really one of the main things it's offered us, I guess, looking back.
Yeah, for sure. And the transition from Lay Siege to Obeyer marked a significant shift. What led to the decision to adopt the new name, and how does Chemical Well reflect this fresh chapter?
We wrote everything, and then we recorded last year. So we recorded the album last October, and at that point we were still Lay Siege, and we'd been playing live, and we played some of the songs live that are now on Chemical Well as Lay Siege, and we hadn't really given it any thought. And then when the album was finished and we started showing it to people, a few people said, like, well, this is really good, but it's such a step forward from where you were before. It doesn't feel like the same band. And then it was suggested to us, like, have you thought about just changing the name of the band, relaunching, start again, going completely fresh? And we thought that's a great idea. That's a good way to capitalize on everything that we've written and what we've pulled together. And it's like you say, it starts a new chapter of this band. So that the name change was one of the last things that happened, really, just as a result of what we'd written and recorded. And then we went out and approached labels with it from there. So nice. Chemical Well is like a statement. It's just like the stake in the ground. Like, okay, this is Obeyer moving forward now.
Cool. And I wanted to ask, the name Obeyer itself, What was the influence behind that?
Um, a lot of really bad suggestions that came before it, to be honest. That was the one that sounded the best out of the. Honestly, we were just spamming our group chat for
Cool.
weeks. Like we sort of thought, like let's go for it. Let's actually see if there's anything in this name change, because like Lewis said, we thought it was a great idea, but there was a lot of history with Lay Siege, and
Of course, yeah.
a bit of a local following maybe, and things like that. People kind of knew our name a little bit from where we are. So there was some reluctance to it. So we were like, if we're going to do it, then the name has to be right. And it was actually Dave, who plays bass.
Yeah.
He just chucked Obeya in the chat, and I think one of us was like, that has to be a band already. Like that's too good of a band name to have not been taken. Because metal band names, let's be honest, like they're not like they're all pretty similar, right? Unless
yeah, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, people don't get particularly brave with it, and we've not either. But it was just crazy that it had not been taken, and it felt right in terms of the lyrical content, in terms of what we're speaking about on the record, and everything like that. There seemed to be a lot of shared ideas between the name and the album and the music, and it all just seemed to gel pretty well. We've said in a couple of a couple of other people that we've spoken to, it's a bit like finding the right wedding dress. Like we kind of just put it on and we're like, this is it. Like,
nice.
This feels right. So yeah, it was kind of a moment in the pub while we were sharing a drink. We just kind of all nodded to each other and was like, all right, Obeya it is. Let's see what we can do with this. And
let's see what happens with it. That's awesome.
All new and all exciting again. So yeah.
Nice. So I've been listening to the promo for a couple of weeks now, obviously since prior to the release. And so with the electronic elements now in the mix, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's also a 7-string as well that's being played. Yeah.
Yep.
How did this expand the sonic palette and shape the writing and recording process for the new album?
We flirted with the idea of like down tuning a bit more before, and then it's become like a bit of a meme at band practice that whatever Jamie plays, Carl will just play it lower. Can you play it on the 7-string? Can you play it faster? So in the end, like Jamie just
yeah.
Jamie just relented and went in and got the 7-string, and then that became, I think, once we wrote a couple of songs, like that became the sound, and we sort of became anchored into that. And then it was Jamie as well that like lent into some of the electronic stuff. He'd sort of done little bits and pieces before as we'd been demoing.
Sure.
And then we found like it was just a good way to like thicken out the sound, and it was another texture that you can bring in that just helps. It's easy to write a metal album that's just like 40 minutes of guitars blasting away at you, but I think the electronics just help to break that up a little bit, and sort of it's like a palate cleanser for the listener, isn't it? And it's another texture we can use. So that was Jamie that drove that, and he sort of did that from home when we were demoing.
And we were very keen, very, very keen in the writing to, the Lay Siege record from 2015. We felt was a bit like that. It had a few dynamics going on, but there wasn't a lot of it, and so we really focused on with this record to ensure the dynamics of the songs and the flow of the songs were what they needed to be, and having the ability to have an electronic section or add something else in was really, really helpful. So yeah, it's all Jamie that does all the electronics when he demos it, and then we sort of thumbs up, thumbs down, or try again, and then it gets added in.
That's cool. I was definitely going to say, and he said it perfectly, as a palette, kind of like a palette cleanser. But I think the layering really brought out a lot of the textures and stuff also. So that was really cool. I wanted to ask about working with the producer, Sam Bloor, if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. What were some of the key moments or even some challenges in capturing the essence of the album?
Well, we'd gone in with Sam about a year before to record like a trial single, because we were thinking about the record. We felt like it was almost nearly there, and we wanted to take this to somebody else. And we came across Sam through a band called Graphic Nature. So a bit of shared history between Lay Siege and the vocalist's old band. So we kind of know that guy anyway, but it came up through chance. I think it was just like a recommendation. And Sam had put a playlist together on Spotify of a load of bands that he'd recorded from all different genres. And I ended up listening to it, and I sent it to the boys, and I was like, every single song that this guy does, like he just absolutely nails it. So like let's just go in, do a single with him, see if we work well together, and go from there. Sam was just so crucial to Chemical Well. You know, we did a pre-production day prior to going in tracking the album in full, and Sam's got a great ear, and you know, we really trust his thoughts on our songs. And again, I think that's where the ego side of it comes in. We didn't go in with the songs like these are our songs, and you know, don't fuck with them. Like it was,
yeah, for sure. Yep.
we're ready to hear you out. You know, so he offered some suggestions which ended up on the record as well, and we just worked like incredibly well together as a group. You know, personality types really matched, and it was just a pleasure, a complete pleasure and an eye opener for us. Yeah, recording an album like we did after so long, there was the inevitable sort of anxiousness going into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Sam just eased all of that. He's set for the top. He's an insane producer, and more people need to know about him and Lower Lane.
yeah, no, for sure. One of the things I noticed, honestly, was the like it kind of felt like it was like just extremely organic, like the way that the whole production sounded. So it doesn't sound like it was the first time you guys worked with him, because it sounded so organic. So that's really cool. So I wanted to talk a little bit about. I know you guys maintained a tradition of jamming together once a week usually. How has that ritual sustained your creativity and camaraderie over the years?
It's like that's an excuse just to hang out with your friends as well. But we do have,
for sure. Yep.
We have band practice every Sunday evening, pretty much religiously, and that is how we write everything as well. So everything is written in the room with the four of us together.
Cool.
It's not one guy that goes off and just brings completed songs back to the band and says learn them. And then for us, so we're always writing together in the room. We can always move ideas around and things, and I think that helps songs grow more organically, because you're putting everything together as one with you all in the room. So I think it helps the writing process like that. Yeah, you get a much more organic sound, and the songs naturally find a structure and a rhythm as you just keep playing them. So I think that's crucial to how we write. It wouldn't work nearly as well if someone was just turning up with completed songs. And I know a lot of bands work like that, and it's, you know, it works for them, but for us, we really enjoy writing together.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a couple of occasions where Jamie had maybe written something at home when he demoed it and maybe added something in, and you know, we'd get to the practice space and we'd play it through as a band, and we kind of all knew immediately, like, actually that's not right, and that's something that we kind of hold quite close to us, is knowing what feels right and sounds right for us as a band.
Right, and what doesn't. Yeah.
Just I think like we probably chucked away like 2 albums worth of material in the writing process for this record, probably more. But you know, we'd write something and we'd look at each other and go, "It's good, but is it us?" And there wasn't. If that was a no, then it got chucked out. It was as simple as that. We were very keen on honing on the vibe of the record for sure.
Cool. So I wanted to jump in a little bit. Excuse me. I wanted to jump in a little bit about the themes and behind some of the songs. So technology's impact on mental health is a central theme in Chemical Well. Can you elaborate on how this idea came to shape in songs like Second Son, for example?
Yeah, Second Son, I think when you've been explained what the record's about, Second Son is pretty obvious what it is. You know, a Second Son is essentially like a screen, any screen that you consume media on, social media, etc. And I think that idea, I don't think it's a brand new idea. I don't think it's like something that no one's ever spoken about before. I think there's quite a few people talking about it now, but I think having lived through what we lived through, especially over the last 5 years with the pandemic and stuff, and seeing how people can be influenced, you know, rightly or wrongly by what they're reading on a screen. And I think having the life experience as well of growing up without having a phone in my hand all the time and having everything available to me all the time, and then seeing how that's changed and evolved over the years, I feel like I've got enough life experience to at least make that observation now, especially having kids as well, and seeing the influence of technology on them. And I really just think that for all of its, you know, all the amazing things that technology can do, there's them natural downsides to it as well, and the negative effects it can have. And I think we're probably just beginning to see the effects of that, especially on you know, kids nowadays. But like the record is talking more about the general theme of technology and certain aspects of it. And I needed something on this record that wasn't just me talking personally about myself. I wanted to sort of chuck things out there and ideas out there a little bit more, and needed a subject that I could elaborate on and explore different facets of. So yeah, it was something I took to the boys and sort of presented to them as an idea of how I was feeling about the record and where I could take it, and they gave the green light, and yeah, and off we went.
That's awesome. And I wanted to, so on, Second Son, I think there was a line where it said something like, "We've traded flesh for a promise of nothing," I think it says, or nothingness, I think is the word. Kind of suggests a commentary on our dependency on technology as well. How would you say that the theme of dependency kind of is an overarching narrative to the album?
Yeah, 100%. I'm not going to sit here and claim that I'm not on my phone like most people are, and we're not guilty of being part of social media ourselves. It's a necessary evil now in terms of launching a band. It's the reason we're sort of sat here talking to you right now, Ryan. So it's not all bad, but yeah, dependency on technology and dependency on social media and that dopamine that it provides to you every day, and if you're not careful, you don't recognize it, or you're not able to recognize it. Sorry, and it's we've all seen the kids in restaurants with parents that are just glued to the tablets, and people out in public, and so yeah, we are becoming very dependent on it, and I do think there's that element of human interaction that we've sort of strayed away from in the last sort of decade or so, especially. So I got faith it will come back around. You've probably got generations growing up at the moment going, the hell are all these people doing? Like just constantly on the streets. Right? So maybe 10 or 15 years there'll be a complete rebellion, and Chemical will be completely redundant as a theme of a record, which I hope so. Right. But that's the way I see things at the moment, right?
Cool. And I also wanted to ask about Witness, kind of described as a blueprint for the album sound. What made it stand out, and how did it set the tone for the rest of the record?
Witness was one of the earlier ones in the writing process.
Cool.
And it was sort of when we first found that rhythm, like the verses, if you like, and then we're like, okay, we've got something, and that was like the big light bulb moment. Because we'd written other stuff before that and not really felt good about it, but that was when we felt like we'd found an anchor point that we could build off. And what did also help was that Carl said we went to Sam Bloor a year before recording the album, did a single. That was Witness. We recorded Witness a year earlier. And then once we heard that with his production on it, and then we felt like we really knew what the album was going to sound like. Because it's, like we say, we practice in a room, the four of us, and you play the songs, but you don't really hear the songs because you're playing them in a room.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And you can listen back and hear it objectively. So that is what gave us like the confidence, I think, in what the album was going to sound like, and we knew that we could use that as a blueprint. And just to how our songwriting skills and everything had moved on. The last album was 10 years ago, so I think with Witness we realized how far we'd come when we compared that to the previous stuff. We could see the progression that we've made.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there was also a line in this one too. So this and Second Son obviously were like two of the ones that jumped out to me a lot. But talked about a plague of echoes, and now being my eternity, I think it said. And it was pretty haunting. Did the band aim for, kind of more of like a reflective catharsis experience with this track, or was it more just kind of embracing the darkness?
Yeah, probably the latter, to be honest with you.
I
don't think although I've tried to shift my lyrics in terms of like how I write them, it's not I too much as much anymore.
For sure.
I tried to make it a bit more observational, like I said. But my background in terms of lyrics is a lot of death metal growing up, a lot of dark stuff growing up. So that's kind of the place that I come from and feel comfortable writing, and feel like that's the most honest I can be, I guess, with my writing. It just feels natural to write stuff that dark to me for whatever reason. I'm not too sure, but I find it very easy talking about that kind of stuff, and yeah, writing that down and expressing my thoughts and opinions on stuff with them kind of lyrics. But yeah, it was yeah, dark is all I've ever known, to be honest. No one's really ever asked me that question, Ryan, so thank you. But I should probably
Yeah, no, of course, yeah, and also a slow shift to a cold shiver.
yeah.
For me personally, held a lot of deep emotional resonance, and especially given Jamie's personal loss.
Yeah.
How do you channel personal experiences into music without compromising the collective vision?
What a question.
I think I've got the answer for this one. I think it's because we were going through life at very similar stages. So we all sort of had kids at around the same time. We all got jobs that got very, very busy at the same time. We all managed to like get houses at the same time. So our life trajectory as friends has been very, very similar. And again, I think you look at the music that we wrote prior to COVID and then after COVID. I think it's given us a new approach to it, and it's got darker. But I think what the pandemic did was like it also refocused us as people as well, getting back into a room with each other and being able to write and actually be able to push the band. Yeah, it's been helpful. So there's nothing. It's not like a personality thing. Like I said earlier on, it's not anybody showing off in Obeya. What we're trying to do is just make the best possible piece of music that we can, regardless of whether that's just playing an open string or just a single kick. Like it doesn't have to be full throttle all the time. So yeah, I'd say that's been the influence really for us.
That's deep. Thank you. That's cool. So a little bit about your influences also. I know you guys like anywhere from Deftones to Meshuggah. How do you balance paying like homage to these inspirations, but still carving out your unique identity?
Well, I think that's when we said like that we'd locked into Witness and found a sound. Maybe before in the earlier days of Lay Siege, we weren't as good at that, and because we all come from different places in terms of our musical influences, like those bands you just mentioned are probably the 3 or 4 or whatever that we all agree on. But when you get away from that, we're all into very different things. And before, it could be that we were all tugging in different directions. So now that we do have those touch points of bands like the Acacia Strain, Meshuggah, Fit for an Autopsy, that's
Fit for an Autopsy, yeah.
Yeah, we've got like a common reference point that helps us just focus our sound and our writing. And then we all naturally know if we're drifting too far off that.
Cool.
Which is where this thing comes from when we're writing. We're like, well, that's really good, but it's not Obeya or whatever. That's a great song for another band, and then we'll just ditch it. So
as much as I would love Lewis to just blast for 3 minutes straight, I'm never going to get that past everybody in the room, unfortunately. That's what I would fucking love. So
nice. And speaking of Fit for an Autopsy, I actually just covered their show about a week and a half ago. It was the last one here in the States before they went out, and I totally see why that would be another reference point for you guys. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. So over the years, how has parenthood and day job shaped your relationship with the music and also the trajectory of the band?
Yeah, I think similar to the answer we just gave before. I think it's just what used to be us as in our early 20s, just meeting up, playing some music, being able to go and play some shows, has turned into, like Lewis said, an excuse to go see your friends now. If you've got kids and you've got families, etc., everyone knows how busy life gets. So to have that point in the week to just sort of have your own time and see people that you enjoy spending time with, and it could be doing anything. Some people go and play games with their friends, some people go just out for a drink or go for a meal or whatnot, but it just happens to be that our choice is writing music. So we just have never stopped doing that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very similar to before, to be honest. We've just grown together as people, and I think as musicians as the time's gone on.
Nice, cool. So I wanted to talk about, with The Chemical Well marking your debut with 3 Dot Recordings. What are your hopes for this album's impact on the listeners and the metal scene in general?
Our hopes.
Yeah.
Someone asked a question about the other day about like, what's the dream for the band, and what's our
Yeah.
hopes, and like, we're kind of doing it right now, Ryan. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, like, if you'd asked us this question like 2 years ago, like, what do you want to do with this record? This would be the answer that we would have given you. You know, we wanted. We initially did the record as more of a. It was more just for ourselves, to prove to ourselves that we could write a record like this post the
That you
last.
could do it. Yeah, for sure.
And it's just more of a vanity project. But you know, when we got the masters back and the name change happened, and we were like, look, let's go ship it out to some labels. The idea was just like, we just want as many people to be able to hear our music as possible. It's not. I don't think it's really up to us to decide sort of how people experience it, how they feel. I just hope they enjoy it and they keep coming back to it ultimately. So yeah, that's the aim really, is just to get as many people to hear it. If you like it, great. That's really good. If you don't, there's a million other bands out there you can go and listen to, which is absolutely fine as well.
The feedback's been really good so far. So that is also the dream, for people to hear it and say, this is really good, we like it. So that's, you know, more than we could have asked for the level of positive feedback we've had, even in
absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. And the last question I wanted to ask you guys, really just about touring. You guys have any plans for like kind of putting together like a small headliner, or?
There's murmurings at the moment. It's about as much as we can say. Not because there's anything that's been booked that we don't, you know, we can't tell you. There's just nothing been booked yet.
Yeah, for sure.
There's murmurings about it happening, and we hope for it to happen soon. We'll see what happens. You know, we've just launched a band 3 months ago.
Right.
You know, and the reception's been great, and you know, we're really, really thankful for that. So yeah, we're hoping to be able to get out on some tours in the UK and in Europe, and you know, like every band from this side of the world, we want to come to your side of the world and play the US.
Yeah, that would be awesome to have you guys out here. Definitely. Yeah,
of course. Yeah, like absolute complete bucket list for us, Ryan. You know, to be able to go tour the US as a British band is huge. So yeah, that's what we hope, but nothing concrete yet. But yeah, murmurings.
Cool, nice. All right, well, thank you guys again so much for your time. Again, Carl and Lewis with Obeyer, and their album Chemical Well is out now via 3 Dot Recordings. Carl, Lewis, thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Great show with you, mate. Take care.